Welcome to another episode of Declutter Advice Needed. My name is Rachel and I'm your host, and this podcast is designed to support you on your decluttering journey. Listen while you're cleaning or sorting out areas of your home to help you feel inspired and motivated to keep going. As always, we start with some advice requests, and what it would be lovely to do is to be able to build a community where I can take your requests. But for now, I'm sharing some advice requests via Reddit and talking through solutions and ways to overcome things. We'll also share some success stories and some tips and tricks along the way. The first advice request is titled, "It feels like cleaning up a small home with limited storage or rooms is the hard mode of decluttering." I'm a bit perplexed when I watch decluttering videos on YouTube where the guru says she has a small house, but then I see that she has a mudroom, laundry room, dining room, garage, storage in the bathroom, etc. Of course, my space would look less cluttered if I had that space. We're still making good progress on our own decluttering, and these guru tips are still helpful, but I do wish that there was more recognition that some of us have much more limited containers and a higher difficulty setting than others. For instance, for me, it's just unavoidable that some of my horizontal spaces will have items on them. Any recommendations of decluttering gurus who cater to smaller spaces? And out of curiosity, what square footage do you define as a small space? And I have to agree that a lot of the videos that I have watched over the years have been big American houses, and that just doesn't represent what we have in the UK, for example, and other countries around the world. We just don't have that square footage. I live in a two-bed small house. I don't have a garage, I don't have access to the attic, have a small shed, and that's it. And it's just 2 rooms downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, and a bathroom. Like, it's not as complicated. So there is nowhere to make it look like it's less cluttered. But there's definitely value in these videos still, because it still helps you to understand the process, understanding why you're attached to things, and it still can help you visualize some spaces. But having some ideas of different particular gurus that you can follow will be also quite helpful. You want to look at small apartments and things like that, or studio spaces, and how people transform those. That might give some really good inspiration. There's a couple of suggestions in the comments about somebody called April who's on YouTube at Space Maker Method. She's featured a variety of living spaces across the world, and I like her techniques and patience since everyone's needs are different. And a few people have agreed with this. She's done decluttering in Korean homes, and they can be quite small. And right now she's putting on some videos on Dutch homes. And yeah, a few people have said that they've really liked those videos, and it's helped them to redirect and have a normal idea of what is the regular amount of items within a home and ideas for decluttering and organising. There's another suggestion of Remy Clog on YouTube, a British lass, small council type home with little storage and 2 small children plus 2 adults and a dog. She's really lovely and real, not an influencer. She just shows the real struggle to declutter and maintain a neurodivergent brain. So that's a great example of somebody that might be relatable and will just put things into a similar perspective. Okay, another advice request is titled, "Tips for Decluttering When Your ADHD Wants to See Everything." My ADHD wants to see everything to help me remember it. For example, by the front door, in the foyer, hats and coats on hooks, open shoe storage, a bin of semi-frequently used items. Several areas in our house are like that. Do the things need to be visible year-round collecting dust? Probably not, but tucking them away out of sight just causes me and others in my household to forget about them, which sucks when we actually need them but don't think of it because they are out of sight. Have you come across any ADHD-friendly tips for minimizing clutter in heavily used or visitor-facing spaces? I think that's a really great question. I totally agree. I need to have a lot of things visible, otherwise I forget about them. But I think the key here, and that's a similar message that I'm seeing in the comments, is to just reduce the stuff as much as possible. Then it can still be visible, but it doesn't look too cluttered. Labeled bins are also a good strategy. I think the less you have, the better it is, especially for ADHD. Then you can be able to see everything. I don't think there's anything wrong with having open containers so you can see the stuff, but the less stuff, the better. That is the key. That's the answer here. And I think there are ways that you can have some stuff that are very seasonal, out of the way. So I've just started doing this with clothing because there are stuff that I want to keep, but I don't feel like I want to reduce down enough that I just let go. But they are very summer specific. So I put those away for winter and they're under my bed. So they're really close, they're nearby, but they're not in my visual straight away. But as soon as it starts to get warm again, I know that I can swap around the jumpers for those summer tops and summer dresses and know that I have room again for them. So it just means that I'm not having to see them all the time, but I know that I will just have to get them in and out once or twice a year. So that makes it a bit more manageable. There's a few comments from people about using the Clutterbug, different organizer types, and there's different ways that people like to organize. And they're suggesting that bees and butterflies are like visual organizers. So you might want to look at the tips that she suggests for those kind of organizers. Anything that you use regularly has to be out, and then stuff that you don't use regularly can be rotated and rotated seasonally. They can be in clear bins and open shelving in another space and just rotate them like just a couple of times a year. But I think you'll find that visual clutter is going to be quite impactful for ADHD. If you're containing it, it feels more visually appealing, and that will still be a helpful strategy for you. But if you have it just loose around, that will have more of a negative impact. I've got a final advice request from a YouTube subscriber, from Lucy. This is titled, "Do you ever clear out a lot, then buy in a few things and end up filling up some of your cleared spaces, any cleared areas?" This is a difficult one. When I first started decluttering, I think I was on so much of a mission that I didn't clear up those areas. But now that I'm on a bit more of a normal kind of attachment to things, I do buy the odd things and fill them up. I think it's just about maintenance and knowing that you're not going over the cleared space and not overspilling in a category, and just regularly looking through and checking the spaces and seeing whether or not it's worth revisiting areas as you go. Now let's share some success stories. This one is titled Fourth Generation Hoarder. Retired 8 months ago with a crammed large house, his and hers large workshops, carport and several acres. No way with my physical issues could I have done this while working. I hire a team for 3 hours weekly, essentially for me, to just totally clear an area, and I quick sort for her to put in a dumpster or pile in the foyer. I then spend the week further sorting. Her judging what I did motivates me to actually keep at it. Luckily, we have a large trailer for the 14 dump runs and counting, a truck for the 4 loads to churchyard sales, 800 plus books to the friends of the library, and blankets to the animal shelter. We had 2 yard sales, several metal scrap runs, many cheap or free Facebook transactions, free stuff at the street, carloads of gifts to friends and family, of art and weaving supplies, gardening gear, beer making supplies, etc. Moving is the drive. I worked weeks on clearing my mum's house out a few years ago and didn't want to abuse my children in the same way. Never again. I think that's really reflective and quite common for people to realise how intense it is clearing out somebody's home when they pass. When a loved one passes, it adds to the grief and doesn't allow you to process your grief because you're having to go through so much stuff. But going through your home and passing things on and reducing down to what you need is a really great way of understanding yourself and putting yourself in a better position as you move into those later years of life when mobility can be an issue or being able to enjoy things can be challenging. You want to be able to do the things that you want to do, you want to be able to get out, you want to be able to experience things, and stuff can be quite a hindrance to that. And I agree it can be really hard to do this whilst working, and that's why a lot of people do leave it till later life. But it's really important that you try and regularly clear out so that you don't get to that stage. But that's really lovely to see that they've made such good progress. Another success story is titled, "Sometimes it's worth the expense to just have someone take it away." Today I had a haul away company take a huge, heavy, and slowly rotting wooden coffee table and some old shelving from my porch. It cost me $80, which is a ridiculous amount if you stop to think about it, and $40 lower than they initially proposed, even. And yet it was still worth it to be able to walk outside and not see those ugly things sitting there decomposing because I was physically unable to get rid of it myself. So today I didn't stop to think about it, chucked out the expense, and never had to see that rubbish again. Acknowledged I am privileged to be able to fork out the money for something like that, and also fully confirming it was not a waste of money. I think it's hard to accept sometimes the value of stuff, and actually the power of taking things away is equally valuable. And yes, you may have to spend money to do that, either through a haulage company to take things away or paying somebody to help you declutter and organise. But the value in it is that feeling at the very end when you've got that space, you don't have to see those things that you didn't like and didn't want to see. It has gone, and you can now have a clear head and be able to enjoy your space and be able to focus on the other things in life. It's a really powerful message about pushing something in to get something out. A few other people have commented on this one. I'm not even going to admit what we're paying to declutter and organise, including 2 trash truckloads full already of what we've determined is junk. My mum was dirt poor in the Depression, and I was raised not to throw out useful stuff. My husband is a collector, first vinyl, then cassette, CD, now DVD. In retrospect, going fast and furious is worth every penny, and the fact that we're spending it on local providers helps their business and the economy. And damn it, it's hard to spend so much. It's such a freeing feeling, though, that instead of just the few closets or a room at a time, we're doing it all from the garage to second floor. My son is okay that we're spending some of his inheritance doing it too. I think it's that investment in quality of life as well, as a reminder that it's just going to be so freeing. And if you can get somebody to help, it's quicker. It will make the process feel more progressive, more productive, and you'll have that end result quicker than you think. It's a really good option to consider. And now for a motivational tips and tricks titled, "If you ever grab a shirt from your dresser and go, ugh, not this again, toss it." So a lot of people have said this is quite common for them. If they come across stuff and they're like, oh, I don't like that one because of this, or it doesn't fit, it's getting into the habit of being able to accept and let go of that item in that moment when you discover it. That will help you to build stronger, regular decluttering habits that are natural, that are allowing you to keep moving forward, but also not holding you back by keeping things that you really don't love or don't enjoy or don't wear, those kind of things. So always bear that in mind as you're picking things out of the wardrobe or the dresser to wear. Is it making you feel good? Do you immediately want to put it back because it's not right or there's something wrong with it? Those are items to let go of. Thank you for listening again to Declutter Advice Needed. If you want to share a story or ask for some advice, then please do email in and I will do my best to add you to the podcast episode.